You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
James McOnie, time on a Sunday afternoon, live from LA. Can you see the Hollywood sign from where you are?
Yes, I can, Piney. It's a wonderful font. I don't know what that font would be, but it's definitely a great block font, the Hollywood sign. In fact, they should use it for more sports teams from LA. Why don't they? Come on.
I don't know. They really should. You're right. It could become iconic. Now, what takes you to Los Angeles? Are you embarking upon an acting career, perhaps?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I was thinking about, picking up an agent. I actually hear CAA, the big agency here, just signed Jacinda Ardern, so they're not against Kiwis. And, it could be me, Jacinda, Tom Cruise, Robert Downey Jr. Watch this space.
Right.
There's also rugby on tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. That's also true. So, can we talk a bit of rugby? I presume you've been keeping up to date with things back on this side of the world. Super Round in Melbourne. The Crusaders have lost their first two games in a season for the first time since 2014. James, are we seeing the demise, the crumbling of an empire, or not?
It was always going to be tough. Remember we talked about it? Freddie Mercury has left, Richie Mo'unga, and so and that's why, with Razor going as well, it is a tough act to follow. But I think it's no time to panic. I think the Crusaders still looked very good in that second half against the Chiefs. So, let's not worry too much. I think there's always going to be ebb and flow. But look, the Blues starting to look quite strong, and even the Highlanders in defeat, and their first two games, promising signs.
Yeah, I watched the Blues beat the Highlanders, and the Highlanders started well, but I always felt like the Blues were going to come over the top of them. I'm just trying to recall our conversation about the Blues from a week or so ago. They've got a bit about them, haven't they? And are usually there or thereabouts. Could it be the Blues rather than the Chiefs who triumph a bit later on this year?
Yeah, the Blues seem to have a lot in reserve as well. I mean, you look at Anton Segner, who looked great in the first weekend in the preseason, not required this time, so they can almost rest and rotate the way they want. I think it helps that this year the All Blacks will choose which games they sit out. It's not handed down from the coaches, so that will help a team like the Blues, so that when Hoskins or anyone who that is considered All Blacks material, say Rico, steps down, then they can bring someone else in who's ready and primed and strong. So, look, Hoskins Sotutu, mate, I do believe I've said that name a lot on your show in the past year. Can you confirm that, please?
I can. In fact, I've just put it into our computer here, which tells you how much he's been mentioned. 76 times in the last year.
Thank you. And look, I always feel like this is the thing with the All Blacks, such a hard team to select because there's an embarrassment of riches, but there's often an argument that the most talented player gets left out around World Cup time. And remember, Jonah was almost not going to go. It was the last second selection in 1995. And then every year, I mean, Rennie Ranger couldn't make a World Cup team, but he was a human highlight reel, right? So, this is, even though Hoskins' form probably dropped off a little last year, there's an argument to say that he's still as talented as anyone playing the game, especially in the loose forwards.
Now, I know you're in LA rather than Vegas, but there's going to be NRL in Vegas in a few hours or so. Do you reckon it'll get any cut through in Sin City?
It's hard to say. I mean, 2 games in a row probably helps. They'll get a little bit of, something in the news cycle, although there's a massive blizzard coming through in Northern California at the moment through Tahoe and Mammoth, though. So now everyone's talking about the weather. Ideally, you just want to say, hey, look, it's the Manly against a team that's called the Rabbitohs. What's a Rabbitoh, guys? That's a good question actually for anyone. Apparently, it's people that sold rabbits down the streets of Sydney in the 1920s. Anyway, I digress. I feel like it's actually going to help rugby union, which is a sport that's desperately trying to get a boost over here because the Major League Rugby season starts tomorrow, and that's what I'm going to. Straight after the LA Sevens, I'll be at LA RFC. They need a proper nickname. Please text in for a nickname for the LA rugby team, but they're starting tomorrow. But I really think that Americans probably won't be able to tell the difference between the two codes yet.
Is the 15-man game getting cut through? I mean, the US have been, I think they might have even been at the very first Rugby World Cup in 1987. So it's not new, is it, rugby, to the United States? Is that cut-through happening, particularly with Major League Rugby?
No, from what I can tell, everyone says it's got a long way to go. And Major League Rugby has got a reputation of shooting itself in the foot sometimes. The New York rugby team, which my old boss Rick Salito was in charge of, they won the MLR a couple of years ago, and then they got turfed out when one of their sponsors pulled out. And rather than say, hey, we'll give you time, they just went, no, you've missed the deadline. And so now there's no Major League Rugby team in New York. Can you imagine just saying to an entire franchise, no, that's it. There's no second chance for you. So this is the problem. I think you've got rich people buying teams, and they put those rich owners in charge of Major League Rugby. So when anyone shows a sign of weakness, they're pretty much knifing them and saying, get out of the league. So it's a very complicated situation, but they're going to have to get their house in order, because they're hosting a Rugby World Cup soon. So over here in America, you can tell it's going to be a big deal. And currently, I think even the Olympic Sevens helps put rugby on the map here.
Hey, James, it's a beautiful day in Wellington, I can report. It's blue skies and sunshine. It's actually quite calm as well, but the cricket's finished.
Yeah, I heard. Should we go there, Piney? I know your listeners have. It's time to go there. Let's just say that there's no shame in getting rolled by Nathan Lyon. He's the 7th in the world for Test wickets. Okay, he's up near about 530 wickets after this Test. Average of 30, which isn't too bad. Victoria averaged 34, so that's fine. Let's just say that, well done, Nathan. But this is the big issue for me, is that we're only playing Australia once in a blue moon. It's an absolute shambles. We're deprived of this step up, and it really has to stop. We're not playing our nearest neighbour in sport, Australia. We're both ranked in the top 5 in the world in tests. So it's actually shocking. And so with the ICC chairman being a Kiwi, Greg Barclay, what's going on? Get him on the show, Piney. I don't want to sort of overproduce Andy for you, but can we get Greg Barclay and explain why this is happening? Because I know there's money involved when you play the Ashes and all that sort of stuff, but there still has to be room in the test window to play Australia more regularly. That's why we end up with lopsided tests like this.
Yeah, agree, Jim. Thanks, mate. Enjoy LA. Got to go. 6.5 away from 2. That's James McOnie in his regular slot.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.